$180,000 US? Sophia shouted loudly, holding the bill the waiter had handed her. What did we eat that was so expensive? For Australian abalones, 1 4-pound lobster. All right, I know. Sophia impatiently cut off the waiter and turned to look at me. I didn't respond. I wiped my mouth with a napkin, took out my phone, and started fiddling with it. Ethan, look, today, Sophia showed a troubled expression. Not enough money? If it's not enough, we can split it. I kept looking at my phone, not even lifting an eyelid. But even if we split it, it still won't be enough. Could you maybe... Sophia glanced at Dylan beside her, who was devouring the lobster with such focus he didn't react at all. How about you cover it for the two of us for now? Why should I? My money didn't come from the wind. It was earned cent by my parents' employees working hard. Seeing her at a loss, I couldn't help finding it amusing. $18,000 US means nothing to me, but you invited me out today, supposedly to thank me, picked the most expensive hotel, and didn't bring money. Do you think I'm an easy mark? I'm giving you two choices today. Either go Dutch or option B. I'm heading upstairs first, room 888. Decide quickly. Dylan, who had been hunched over his meal the whole time, only now reacted. Then what am I supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? You fucking wash the dishes. After saying that, I went straight upstairs. My name is Ethan. I am the heir to the Johnson Group in Weston City. Young, accomplished, handsome, and rich, the dream lover of countless socialites and gentlewomen. But in reality, I'm someone who slipped into a book. This melodramatic novel is called Turning a Sponsored Student into a Beautiful CEO, only to unite her with her childhood friend. Just from the title, already knew what kind of bastard the original Ethan was. A top-of-the-line ultimate sucker. He hopelessly fell in love with the poor student he was sponsoring, Sophia, pouring his heart and soul into her. He funded her education, provided the most generous lifestyle, even used family resources to help her start a business, forcibly turning her from a Cinderella into a rising star in the business world. And the result? By the time everything was on track and Sophia had become a business elite, their relationship should have been heading toward marriage. That woman, eyes rimmed with tears, said, "Ethan, you're a good man. You've done so much for my family. But we're really not right for each other. Only now do I understand that gratitude is not love. Screw that, gratitude my ass. Eat everything clean, wipe your mouth, walk away, and then go build a shrine for yourself." The most infuriating thing was that the original owner, that useless man, was completely shattered by being labeled a good man. His heart turned to ashes. He never recovered. In the end, the vast family fortune went to others, and he became the family's discarded child, drifting homeless on the streets. When I first saw this plot, I almost laughed myself angry. I despised that stupid male lead to the extreme. A pathetic simp, simping until he has nothing left. Together for over a year, he hadn't even properly held her little hand a few times, let alone taken her virginity. Now that heaven has finally opened its eyes and I'm out of there, that sucker can stay whoever wants to be stuck with him. Our goal now is making money and enjoying life. And while we're at it, let's see whether, without my support, your life can still go smoothly. The top priority is to clarify the current situation and quickly stop the bleeding. I sat down at the desk, opened the computer, and pulled up the records of the original owner's financial support for Sophia. I shouldn't have looked, and seeing it made my blood boil. Covering tuition and room and board would be one thing. That's normal support. But what the hell is $10,000 US a month in pocket money? A college student, $10,000 a month. The original owner really was damn generous. Where did all this money go? My memories tell me that most of it went to subsidize her so-called childhood friend Dylan, buying designer brands, treating him to meals. Even when something happened to Dylan's family, it was Sophia who used this money to help out. Damn it, spending my money on someone else. I was so angry I almost crushed the mouse. Fine, then I'll start by cutting off the allowance. The day after the funds were transferred, I went to the president's office at Johnson Group. Sitting in a large boss chair, looking around, A sense of control welled up inside me. This damn well is where transmigrator belongs. I began to go through the documents and listen to the manager's reports. I have to say, setting aside the lovesick tendencies, the original owner did have some talent for business. The company was running fairly well. Knock, knock, knock. The sound of someone knocking on the door interrupted my thoughts. Come in. I didn't even look up. The door opened. It was my assistant, Mike Wilson, a sharp and efficient-looking young man. Mr. Johnson, Miss Sophia is outside. She says she wants to see you. Oh, she's here. A bit sooner than I expected. It seems that the $100,000 really is crucial to her. Someone used to spending freely would surely be unsettled by suddenly being tightened up. I sneered inwardly, but kept my expression unchanged. Let her in. Yes. The door opened again, and Sophia walked in. She was clearly dressed up today, a cream-colored cashmere knit top that was soft in texture and outlined her slim waist. On the bottom, she wore a light gray pleated skirt. The hem swayed gently with her steps, revealing straight, fair calves. She wore delicate, subtle makeup that made her already refined features even more captivating. Her long hair fell smoothly over her shoulders, the whole person exuding a pitiably pure aura, exactly the kind I love. But there's a difference between me and the original. He likes to grovel, while I prefer to use my power to dominate. Otherwise, what meaning is my 10 billion fortune? She saw I was still looking down at the documents and seemed a bit surprised. Her steps paused for a moment before she gently approached the desk. Mr. Ethan Johnson. She quietly corrected her form of address. I finally looked up, my gaze landing on her, and I couldn't help scanning her from head to toe. She really was a beauty in the making. No wonder the original owner was completely bewitched. She grew a little flustered under my stare. Her cheeks flushed slightly. She instinctively tugged at the hem of her dress, and her eyes flitted away. I withdrew my gaze and looked back at the documents, my tone flat and even a little distant. You need something? No, nothing important. Sophia's face flushed deeper. Her words came out in hesitant stammers. I just came to see you. And by the way, she furtively glanced up to study my expression, hoping to find a trace of the old enthusiasm on my face. And by the way, what? I asked, feigning ignorance, leaning back in my chair, anticipating her next act. Of course I knew why she was here. Dylan, her precious childhood friend, was about to have a birthday. According to the plot, she's supposed to prepare a decent birthday gift for her childhood friend, and she even promised to take him to an ultra-luxury hotel to celebrate. All that costs money, and not a small amount. I cut off her allowance. How could she not be anxious? But this woman has a strong sense of pride. Even when she comes to ask for money, she's too embarrassed to speak directly and always circles around it. She was clearly surprised by my reaction. By habit, at this time, every month the money should have been transferred automatically. The original owner would even thoughtfully give a little extra and include a few caring words. Now she came in person, and I remained unmoved, not even asking the secretary to pour a glass of water. This is completely different from what she had expected. Her heart began to pound. Could he be angry? Was it because I refused to go to the movies with him last time? Or, Mr. Johnson, there were recent school tests. My grades are pretty good. There's been a considerable improvement compared to before. She tried to find a topic, hinting that she was worth continued investment, that she offered value for money. Well, that's good. Congratulations. Keep it up. I nodded, my tone utterly flat. She paused, then, as if feeling it wasn't enough, added, also, in the recent university business competition, my team won first place. She looked at me expectantly, hoping to see a look of approval. Wonderful, congratulations. That shows my sponsorship was not in vain. I remained perfunctory. She bit her lower lip, feeling a little wronged. Why was he so cold? A championship. He would definitely have praised me for being smart before and taken me out to celebrate. In a couple of days, the school will break for spring vacation. I want to go home to see my mother. She continued to beat around the bush, her voice growing smaller. She thought, mention my mother and he'll soften, right? He knows our family is poor and has always taken good care of me. Then go, of course. Going home to see your parents is proper. You don't need to report it to me. I almost laughed out loud. That was quite the long roundabout from grades to family visit leave. I sneered inwardly. Let's see what other excuses you can make up. She finally began to lose her composure. Anxiety and a trace of grievance showed on her face, and her voice dropped, tinged with an awkward embarrassment. But, Mr. Johnson, this month's allowance hasn't come through yet. After saying this, she felt her face burn. She had never directly asked anyone for money like this before. But remembering her promise to Dylan, she could only force herself to speak up. I deliberately elongated my voice and pretended to be struck with realization, slapping my forehead. Oh, so the reason you came all the way around was to ask about your allowance. Seeing the instant, expectant light in her eyes, I shifted tone, letting a perfectly measured expression of regret and helplessness cross my face. He spread his hands and said, well, it's just terribly unfortunate. Classmate Sophia, that money, I temporarily reallocated it to a new company project. You know, the market's been bad lately, and the company is quite cash-strapped. So, after careful consideration, apart from a usual basic support like tuition and accommodation, extra pocket money, I'm afraid, will be completely unavailable. The color drained from Sophia's face in an instant, leaving it completely pale, her eyes filled with disbelief and overwhelming panic. If the $100,000 is gone just like that, what about Dylan's birthday? What about the watch? What about the hotel? What am I going to give him? I promised him. He'll be very disappointed, very angry. Will he think I lied to him? Mr. Johnson, she stepped forward hastily, no longer bothering to keep her distance, her tone pleading, this month. I really have an urgent need this month. Could you advance me the money? Or deduct it from my allowance next month? Or the month after? I promise in the future. Her mind was a jumble. She just wanted to get the money to get through the immediate difficulty. I waved my hand to cut her off, stood up, picked up the coat draped over the back of the chair, and put it on with brisk movements. Sorry, classmate Sophia, I have an important board meeting to attend. It's settled then. Funds are tight, and I'm really unable to help. After speaking, I stopped looking at her trembling expression, walked past her, and opened the office door. Mike, see Miss Sophia out. I left her standing there stiffly. She watched my resolute departing back, her heart filled with bewilderment and fear. How did he become like this? He never treated me this way before. Did I do something wrong? Or does he really not love me anymore? Has he found someone new? Sophia returned to school in a daze, locking herself in her dorm, unable to understand why Ethan had suddenly become so cold and heartless. She began to reflect on herself. Had she refused him too many times before? Had she hurt his feelings? Or had his company really run into major trouble? Maybe next time they met, she should be a little kinder, a little gentler. Perhaps if he softened, things would go back to how they were. Time passed quickly, and before she knew it, it was Dylan's birthday, which conveniently fell during the school's spring break. Early in the morning, Dylan excitedly ran to the apartment Sophia rented off campus. This apartment, of course, was funded by the original owner. It had an elegant environment and complete facilities. This guy, used to living off others, had the nerve to say as soon as he came in, Sophia, where's my birthday present? Is it ready? Let me see it. Sophia looked awkward. Her eyes flicked away as she took a beautifully wrapped box from behind her and handed it over, forcing a faint smile. Dylan, look, this tracksuit is the newest style. I think it suits you perfectly. She was a bundle of nerves, praying he would accept the gift. Dylan took it eagerly, tore off the wrapping, and saw it was some ordinary sports brand, worth at most a few $100s. The smile on his face froze instantly. Then, like a mask falling, it collapsed. The huge disappointment ignited his anger in an instant. They had promised a designer watch, and he had already bragged about it to his friends. Dylan refused on the spot, threw the tracksuit onto the sofa, and raised his voice by 8 notes. What crappy clothes are these? Sophia, are you kidding me? What about the designer watch you promised? You gave me your word. How can you go back on it? His tone was exactly like a 3-year-old whose candy had been stolen, completely disregarding Sophia's feelings. Sophia tried to explain, her face full of difficulty and guilt. Dylan, listen to me. Mr. Johnson sighed. His company is short on funds. My allowance has been cut off. I really have no way. She felt wronged and helpless inside. Why couldn't Dylan understand her predicament? I don't care. Dylan wouldn't listen. He persisted, pacing the room and smashing things inside. But when he saw Sophia still refusing to budge, he realized she was telling the truth, so his tone softened. Forget the watch, but you can't just swap the Royal Oak Hotel I booked for my birthday for some roadside stand, right? I already told my roommates I'm having dinner with you tonight at the best hotel, and I'll bring them back some leftovers. No way. We can't change the venue. I can't lose face like that. Reputation mattered more to him than anything at that moment. The Royal Oak Hotel was the top luxury hotel in Weston City, a place where the average spending ran into tens of thousands of dollars. Sophia was so distressed she was about to cry, her fingers clenched tightly together. Dylan, you know it's too expensive there. I don't have any money left. She felt utterly helpless, torn between the coercion of her childhood friend and the loss of her livelihood. At that moment, Dylan's eyes flicked. He stopped walking, a sly expression crossing his face as he came up with an idea he thought brilliant. Got it, Sophia. Look, Mr. Johnson has been sponsoring your studies and living expenses for so long and has helped us so much. Shouldn't we properly thank him? Sophia looked at him blankly, not knowing what he was up to. Dylan continued coaxing. How about we invite him to a meal to the Royal Oak Hotel where I'm having my birthday? We'll say it's to thank him for his long-term support. What do you think? He lowered his voice, raised an eyebrow, and gave a knowing smile. After the meal, when the bill comes, would such a big boss feel comfortable letting us two poor students pay? He'll definitely pay directly. That way, we return the favor. Maybe you can casually bring up your pocket money issue, and my birthday banquet is sorted, killing 3 birds with 1 stone. The more he talked, the smarter he thought he was, practically a genius. Sophia shook her head sharply at once, as if burned, and slapped his hand away. No, absolutely not, Dylan. How can you? Isn't this taking advantage? If Mr. Johnson isn't giving money, he has his reasons. We can't do this. A strong sense of shame welled up inside her. She still had her principles. How was that not okay? Dylan began to act stubborn, arms crossed. He's so rich. What's wrong with him buying us a meal? It's nothing, not even a drop in the bucket. Besides, he's your sponsor. Isn't it natural for you to thank him? Make us look like grateful people. Just call him, use a nicer tone, be gentler. If he's in a good mood, everything might get sorted out. Seeing Sophia still hesitating, he played his trump card, his face hardening. I don't care. If you don't make that call, I'm not celebrating this birthday. You know my depression only just got better. His words were laced with threat. Under Dylan's nonsense and emotional coercion, Sophia struggled internally for a long time. On one side was her moral bottom line. On the other was the childhood friend she'd grown up with. In the end, after much thought, she chose to help Dylan. She comforted herself. Maybe this really was an opportunity to mend relations? It was just a meal, after all. What she didn't know was that a big net was waiting for her to fall into. When I got Sophia's call and heard her say in that unprecedentedly gentle tone that she wanted to treat me to a meal to thank me for all the support I've given, and even emphasize, I picked a nicer place so we can show our sincerity. I was holding my phone and almost couldn't help laughing out loud. Damn it, try and trap me? With the acting and tricks you two pull, you might not even survive a season in a palace intrigue drama. Fine, I'll play along with you. Oh, thanking me? I said into the phone, my tone teasing. All right then, it's rare that classmate Sophia has such a thought. Time and place. 7 o'clock tonight, Royal Oak Hotel. Sophia's voice carried a trace of nervousness. Her palms were sweating. Royal Oak? Not bad, pretty thoughtful. Okay, I'll be there on time. I agreed readily, already looking forward to their expressions later. After hanging up, I stroked my chin. Royal Oak Hotel. It seemed Johnson Group had a few long-term suites there. Not bad. After dinner, I could head up there to rest. At 7 that evening, I opened a reserved private room door right on time. The room was decorated with the utmost luxury. Sophia and Dylan were already there. When Sophia saw me, she immediately stood up, the smile forced on her face looking a bit stiff. Dylan, on the other hand, looked all warmth and even a touch of obsequiousness, stepping forward eagerly. "Mr. Johnson, you've come. Please sit, please sit. It's truly our honor that you graced us with your presence." Dylan hurried to greet me. His posture made it seem as if he were the host tonight. He deftly pulled out my chair, secretly pleased. The fish had taken the bait. It looked like this dinner was a sure thing. I gave a faint nod, sat down, and let my gaze sweep over the table. Yes, the cutlery is top tier, the setting is top tier, and this marked their words. No, this lamb to the slaughter atmosphere is top tier as well. "Mr. Johnson, thank you for always taking care of Sophia. You must eat and drink well tonight," Dylan said as he snatched the gilded menu from the waiter. "I'll order. Let me see what's tasty." Just as I expected, he deliberately picked the expensive items on the menu, dragging his finger across the row of zeros in the price column without even blinking. This, start with 10. Yes, make them large. This deep-sea lobsters, 10 of them, at least 4 Gene each. And also, Kobe Wagyu, cut the most tender parts. Oh, right, another bottle of top-shelf 1982 bourbon whiskey. Ahem, Mr. Johnson. This whiskey goes perfectly with steak. Each dish he ordered made him feel a little more at ease, as if he could already see Ethan paying the bill without hesitation. He kept muttering as if performing a crosstalk monologue. "This one Sophia likes. Mr. Johnson, you must try this. I heard this tastes good." Trying to make the extravagance seem more reasonable. Sophia sat beside him restless, as if there were nails in the chair, and opened her mouth to stop him several times. "Dylan, it's too much, we can't finish it." But each time Dylan glared at her fiercely with his eyes. She didn't touch the tea in front of her, clearly with no appetite, head down, fingers nervously picking at the fringe of the tablecloth. My heart was filled with unease and guilt. This was too much. What would Mr. Johnson think? Would he be angry? Actually, some people are like that. If you care about them wholeheartedly, they think it's what you ought to do. If you ignore them, they'll reflect on whether they did something wrong. As for me, I leaned back contentedly and watched Dylan perform. If it's free, why not eat? After all, I wasn't the one footing the bill in the end. The abalone, the lobster, the wagyu, their flavors really matched their price. I even offered a few comments. This abalone is cooked just right. Seeing that I was eating with satisfaction, Dylan grew even more pleased, constantly urging me to drink and eat more. Sophia, however, found no taste in her food. Every bite felt like chewing wax, and she was inwardly tormented. Sated and full, Dylan's mouth was greasy from eating. With no sense of decorum, he belched contentedly, still savoring the aftertaste of the fine wine. Sophia watched the table strewn with debris and empty bottles, her face growing paler by the moment, a fine cold sweat even beading on her brow. What had to happen was finally coming. At last, as if she had made up her mind, she drew a deep breath and, her voice nearly trembling, called the waiter standing by the door. "Say, server, the bill, please." Her voice was so low it was almost inaudible. A waiter in a well-tailored suit hurried forward with a smile and handed over an exquisitely prepared bill. "Good afternoon, ma'am. The total for 3 people is $188,888. The manager said he'd round off the trailing digits for you, so we'll charge $188,800. Oh my God, $188,800. Sophia gasped, snatching the bill and staring with wide eyes. What do we eat to cost so much? Although she had mentally prepared, the figure far exceeded her expectations, and she felt dizzy. 4 Australian abalones, 1 4-pound lobster. The waiter, trained and smiling, patiently read off each dish and its price one by one. All right, stop preaching. Sophia snapped impatiently, cutting him off. Her face shifted from pale to ashen, then to flushed, quite a show. Then she looked at me with the last sliver of faint hope, her voice trembling almost out of tune. Ethan, you see, I was in a rush today. I might not have brought enough money, you see. How she wished Ethan would, like before, smile and say, "It's okay, I'll cover it." I leisurely wiped the corner of my mouth with a napkin and, unperturbed, said, "It's fine. Hand me your phone, and I'll help you apply for an online loan." I didn't mean, that's not what I meant. What I mean is, you see, could you? Sophia's tone grew more frantic, her face even redder as she lowered her head, wishing she could bury it in her chest. Not enough money. I said, my tone still flat. If there's not enough, we can split it. But, Sophia was nearly sobbing, her voice choked with tears. The two of us, even if we split it, it still won't be enough. She panicked and tugged at Dylan, who was still ravenously gnawing on a giant lobster. Dylan, think of something. Do you have any money on you? Only then did Dylan snap completely out of his rapture over the food and wine, his face registering bewilderment and alarm. How would I have money? Sophia, didn't you say Mr. Johnson would? He didn't dare finish the sentence, but the meaning was clear. Didn't you say that sucker would pay? He was panicking now too. How could this be? The script was wrong. Sophia closed her eyes to steady herself. She looked at me again, her voice barely a whisper, carrying a final plea. Ethan, why don't you just cover it for the two of you as first? On what basis? I finally looked up, my gaze sharp as a blade, and slammed the table. Bang! A loud crash made the cups and plates vibrate and sent a shiver through both Sophia and Dylan. My money didn't just blow in on the wind. I snapped, my voice rising sharply with undeniable anger. All of that was earned penny by the employees who work for my parents, working hard for every cent. It's not for you to squander. My sudden outburst stunned them both. Sophia, in particular, recoiled at my shout, her shoulders shrinking, tears instantly welling up in her eyes. She had never seen Ethan this furious, and it was directed at her. Today you said it was to thank me and invited me to dinner, I said coldly as I scanned them, my gaze sharp as an ice pick. You chose one of the most expensive hotels in Weston City, ordered the priciest dishes, opened the most expensive wine, and what happened? After the meal you tell me you didn't bring any money? What do you take my Ethan for? An ATM? Or a sucker who cleans up after you? I stood up and, looking down at Sophia, pale and trembling, I spoke clearly word by word. Sophia, for the sake of our past relationship, I'll give you two choices today. Either the three of us split everything evenly. Whether it's borrowing, mortgaging, or selling a kidney, it's not my business. Or I cover A, and you cover B. I paused, deliberately adopting an ambiguously intimate yet icy tone, and said slowly, I'm going upstairs first, top floor, the presidential suite, room 888. If you've made up your mind, hurry up and come. Only then did Dylan, who had been feigning death to lower his profile, fully react. Panic-stricken, he asked, Mr. Johnson, what should I do? I gave him a contemptuous glance, a look like I was staring at a pile of trash. What should you do? You fucking wash dishes. Wash until it's enough. Dylan screamed and fell to the ground. A $60,000 plate. He'd have to swipe until the end of time. After saying that, I paid no attention to their expressions and walked towards the elevator, pressing the button for the hotel's top floor presidential suite. In the 888 presidential suite, I didn't wait long, only about 10 or 15 minutes. When a very faint knock sounded at the door, I strolled over and opened the door. Sophia stood in the doorway with her head down, her long hair hanging and covering much of her face. She clutched the hem of her clothes tightly with both hands, her knuckles whitening from the strain, her body trembling slightly, her face utterly drained of color, her eyes full of panic, humiliation, and fear, with a streak of resigned defiance. She didn't dare look me in the eye, only staring at the tips of her shoes. Decided, I stepped aside, my tone calm and even, as if asking about some trivial matter. Silently, almost shuffling, she stepped into the luxurious suite. The soft, expensive carpet beneath her feet only seemed to make her more out of place. Go wash up. I leaned back on the sofa in the center of the living room, idly fiddling with my phone, my tone devoid of any feeling, like I was ordering a subordinate. I knew in my heart that with someone like her, who both plays both sides and sets herself up, you can't give any warmth or illusions. You have to shatter her pride in the most direct way. She suddenly lifted her head and glanced at me, bit her bloodless lower lip, and in the end slowly, step by step, moved into the bathroom connected to the living room, a room larger than many ordinary people's bedrooms. She knew that once she stepped in, there would be no turning back. Soon, the sound of rushing water came from the bathroom, and behind the frosted glass, a blurred, slender figure swayed. I looked at that blurred figure with no pity in my heart, not even much emotion. All of this was her own doing, and also the result of the original's idiot's boundless habits. Since she chose to have it both ways, wanting the benefits without paying the price, there's no such thing as a free ride. This is the cruelty of reality. I put down my phone. Who the hell still felt like playing with their phone now? Stood up, walked to the bathroom door, and without any hesitation reached out and pushed it open. Inside, Sophia's terrified, fawn-like scream rang out immediately. The next morning I opened my eyes, stretched, put on my clothes, and glanced back at the bed, now in disarray. Sophia was curled up under the soft down comforter, only half her crown and her messy black hair visible, seemingly still asleep. On the sheets, that glaring, dried crimson like an incomplete flower attested to certain things. A cold, satisfied smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. The thing the original person obsessed over, that useless thing they kissed up to and still couldn't get, I obtained with ease. Thinking of using me, Ethan, as a stepping stone and an ATM? I don't steal other people's money. If I did, they ought to be counting their blessings. At noon, I had just arrived at the company, my seat not yet warm, when the office door was knocked. Come in. I didn't even look up. I already knew who it was. The door opened. It was Sophia. She had changed clothes, but her face looked even more haggard than yesterday, her eyes swollen and red like walnuts. She had clearly been crying for a long time, perhaps all night. Her walk was slightly awkward. She walked in slowly, head down, not daring to look at me. Her voice was hoarse. Ethan. I made up my mind. I raised an eyebrow, put down the pen in my hand, and watched her leisurely without speaking, waiting for her to continue. I wanted to see what she could possibly say after last night. She saw I didn't react, took a deep breath as if summoning all her strength, and mustering the courage continued. I'll agree to be your girlfriend. After saying this, she seemed completely drained of energy, her shoulders slumped. As if she had made some monumental sacrifice, she perhaps still harbored a sliver of fantasy that if we slept together, I would take responsibility and return to the previous state of always indulging her. I sneered inwardly, but showed no expression on my face. She paused, as if she'd remembered something important, then hurriedly looked up, pleading, "Can you go and redeem Dylan from the hotel now? Their manager said there's $60,000 in dining charges. If he doesn't have the money, he'll have to stay in the kitchen washing dishes to pay it off, and he'd have to scrub for over a year. How could he endure that kind of hardship?" Even now, what she was worried about was still her childhood friend. Only then did I suddenly realize, leaning back in my chair, hands clasped on the table, looking at her with an extremely cold, even slightly mocking gaze. Girlfriend? Sophia, when did I ever ask you to be my girlfriend? Sophia suddenly looked up, her eyes full of shock and disbelief, as if meeting me for the first time. Her lips trembled. She couldn't speak. Her mind went blank, utterly unable to comprehend. After everything last night, shouldn't he take responsibility? And another thing, my tone grew colder. Why should I pay Dylan's hotel bill? Am I his father? He ordered the food. He ate it. He took a shit. He wiped his own ass. It's only natural. Then you. If you don't want me as a girlfriend, why did you, last night, what you did to me? Her voice shook violently, collapsing into a sobbing, disbelieving humiliation. Tears began to well up in her eyes again. She felt extremely aggrieved. Last night, I wore a puzzled expression, then suddenly looked enlightened, even a bit teasing. Oh, you mean last night? Wasn't last night when I helped you pay back that $60,000 dinner bill? I spread my hands and spoke with grave seriousness, as if stating the most straightforward business logic. Let's keep things separate. Isn't that fair? Now we're even. You bastard. Ethan, you're shameless. You're despicable. Sophia's tears burst forth, streaming down in a rush. She pointed at me, her finger trembling. You can't treat me like this. I gave myself to you. How could you? How could you be so irresponsible? What did you take me for? All her fantasies and expectations shattered in that moment, leaving only the anger and despair of being deceived and toyed with. I widened my eyes as if I'd heard some Arabian Nights tale, even exaggeratingly cupping my ear. Be responsible? $60,000 isn't responsible enough? Sophia, get this straight. That's way above market price. Okay, what more do you want? I stood up, walked around the desk, came to her side, looked down at her utterly broken, tottering state, my voice lowered, carrying an unabashed threat. Also, I'm very busy. My time is precious. From now on, if it's nothing important, don't come to my office and make a scene. I leaned close to her pale face and warned, word by word. If you bother me again over this nonsense, don't blame me for cutting you off completely, leaving you without even the most basic financial support for your studies. After speaking, I no longer looked at her stunned, utterly despondent expression. I walked around her, opened the office door, and left. Behind me came Sophia's uncontrollable, despairing sobs and the sound of her body collapsing to the floor. Beauty, you can't blame me for being ruthless. If I weren't, you would have drained me dry long ago. In the days that followed, I completely let myself go, driving a limited edition sports car and frequenting all kinds of high-end private clubs. Horse tracks, yacht parties, spending money like water, enjoying the perks a transmigrator should have. The media also began running gossip about the Johnson family's heir, changing his ways, and becoming rakish and carefree. If you're going to transmigrate into a book and not enjoy it, then what's the point of coming at all? The original idiot wasted huge amounts of resources, time, and energy on a woman who didn't love him at all, and in the end got such a miserable fate, truly a crime against good sense, like his brain got caught in a door. I've come to terms with it. I'm going to live as comfortably as possible. What surprised me a bit was that Sophia over there also seemed to have suddenly changed her tune. She no longer avoided me like before, nor did her eyes carry resentment and accusation. Instead, she started reaching out to me first. Although I ignored her calls 8 out of 10 times and replied with extremely short, even impatient messages, the tone of her text became unusually gentle, considerate, even a little tentatively ingratiating. Ethan, it's cooled down in Weston today. We're more when you go out, so you don't catch a cold. She looked at her phone, waited a long time without a reply, and put it down disappointed. Mr. Johnson, I saw in the financial news that your company's new project has launched. Congratulations. It must be a lot of hard work, right? She hoped for some kind of response, even if it was only a single, I made some cookies you used to love and left them at the company's front desk. Remember to pick them up. She had put a lot of thought into making them, imagining my expression when I tasted them. She no longer chased designer bags and luxury goods. She returned to that original simple, pure style of dressing, even more low-key. On some holidays, she would personally make some pretty decent little pastries, or knit a scarf or gloves or something, and bring them to the company reception. She tried with this kind, domestic approach to rekindle my feelings, or at least to maintain the current state where we could still occasionally be in touch. I really can't understand this book's fucking broken logic. When someone was good to her, she avoided them like the plague and didn't care. When she didn't get that, she loved them to death. Could this be the normal way for female-oriented novels to unfold? After that night, A kind of Stockholm Syndrome-like feeling began to take root in her heart. She started making excuses for me, believing my earlier coldness was because she hadn't done well enough. If she were more obedient and considerate, I would eventually change my mind. At first, I was a bit impatient, thinking maybe this woman had been so crushed she wasn't mentally right, or that she was up to some new trick. But later, I stopped bothering to drive her away. I would occasionally take a taste. It wasn't bad, and the handicrafts were pretty useful. Once, she brought another scarf that looked like it had taken a long time to knit, the stitches fine and dense. I happened to run into her at the company entrance. She saw me, her eyes lighting up like a puppy that had spotted its owner returning home. She immediately trotted over, holding the scarf out to me with both hands, her face wearing an expectant, ingratiating smile. "Ethan, it's cold. I knitted you a scarf." I looked at her sincere expression and felt no warmth, only a bout of irritation, because I couldn't tell whether this was acting or for real. "Sophia," I said, taking the scarf and weighing it in my hands, my tone calm and earnest as I looked at the light in her eyes. "You don't have to do this, really." She froze for a moment, confusion showing in her eyes. I continued, "In this world, I don't believe in love at all. Maybe I won't get married at all, and even if I do, I won't marry you, so you won't get any status or happiness. Don't waste your time on me." I spoke coldly, trying to make her give up. She kept her head down, her fingers unconsciously twisting the tassel of the scarf, silent for a long time, long enough that I thought she would finally give up. Suddenly she looked up, a near-obsessive calm and determination in her eyes, and whispered, "It's okay. I don't care about status. I don't need you to promise any love, because I'm yours now." Her voice was very soft. "You're my first man, and you'll be the only one. I don't need you to take responsibility. When I need you, I'll come to you. When I don't, just wait there for me. That's enough." She seemed to have found a place for herself, a reason to stay by my side, even if that reason was so humble. Her gaze was clear, but I couldn't tell if it was genuine, and I wasn't willing to spend the time to find out. I neither agreed nor explicitly refused. Just consider her something to occasionally satisfy physical needs. Either way, I don't lose out. Later, I heard Dylan ran into some trouble too. That guy was washing dishes at the Royal Oak Hotel to pay off debts, but he thought the pace was too slow and somehow took a shortcut. With that fairly good-looking face and a glib tongue, plus the convenience of working in the hotel kitchen, he was actually noticed by a wealthy woman named Claire Bennett, who frequently stayed at the hotel and whose husband was said to be away most of the time. They said he was actually quite talented in that area and pleased those older women. At first he felt humiliated, but he quickly adapted. He soon repaid his debts in this way and intended to pull himself free from that humiliating place. But the hotel seemed to be involved in some gray area businesses. The owner saw he was a talented person, tight-lipped, and good at handling things. How could he let this goose that laid golden eggs go? After a round of threats and temptations, he could only work there for life. Time flew by in a flash, and Sophia graduated with excellent grades and the various honors she had accumulated during her studies. She seemed to have completely cut ties with her past, neither returning to her hometown nor going to look for the Dylan who was said to be working hard. Instead, she came straight to me and asked to join the Johnson Group. "Ethan, let me help you. I'll do anything, and I'll start from the bottom," she said, looking at me with a submissive, pleading expression. She needed a job, and more than that, a reason to stay by my side. Maybe she still held onto a sliver of hope that affection would grow over time, or that by proving her worth at work, she could make me see her in a new light. I looked at her, pondering for a moment. To be fair, her professional abilities were indeed strong. She was smart, learned quickly, and worked conscientiously. "All right," I nodded. "Start as an executive office secretary." As it turned out, her abilities were indeed outstanding. Efficient in her work, meticulous in thought, highly perceptive, she managed my daily schedule and meeting documents in an orderly, impeccable manner. She really seemed to consider herself mine, giving her all at work, attentive in daily life, bringing tea, tending to my comfort, checking on me, more careful even than my mother. However, I always remained completely clear-headed. I paid her a salary well above the market rate, with generous bonuses, and gave her the respect and authority due a president's secretary. But I never relinquished even the slightest control over the company's core business, financial decisions, key client relationships, or personnel appointments and dismissals. What she had access to was always only the most superficial, execution-level matters. For important meetings, she could only take minutes. For crucial documents, she could only see the non-core parts, and she was completely unaware of matters involving cash flow and personnel changes. Getting married is even less likely. My family has already found me a match for an arranged marriage. As for love, in this female-oriented novel, I no longer have high hopes. What the hell is love? It's all bullshit and an illusion. Only money is real. From now on, I have only one goal: make money. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. "Aren't you allergic to mangoes?" I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, "Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing." I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. "When did you start smoking?" I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor." I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. "Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level." Frank's eyes widened. "You mean, she's not Mary?" "I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up." 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. "Mary is an only child. We all know that." I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. "George, Mary is going to have a baby," my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that?" I managed to ask. "Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. "It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life." My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. "Mary, could you come here for a moment?" I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. "Did you forget about this?" I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. "George, I can explain." "Explain what?" "Explain that you're not Mary at all." Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. "What's going on with you two?" "Mom, take a look at this." I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. "What's going on?" "Mary, you can't have children." "Of course she can," I sneered, "because she's not Mary at all." My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "I can explain." She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. "That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly." My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. "George, you're being too paranoid." My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. "Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her." "Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby." I looked at her face, identical to Mary's, yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. "All right, I believe you." I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. "Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng?" Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the third day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. They're after your painting, the private detective asserted, and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust. I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. It's taking too long, Tom said irritably. How much longer until he sells the painting? Don't worry, she soothed him. I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money. You're really pregnant? That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly. Does Annie know the truth? She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help. I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. You don't actually have feelings for George, do you? Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word. Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it. Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell Eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. This is a surprise I prepared for you, I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. To celebrate the new life we're about to begin. She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. It's beautiful, thank you. She smiled as she prepared to put it on. Wait, I stopped her. Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back? She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. What's wrong? Don't you like it? I asked, feigning ignorance. No, I really like it. It's just... I'm a bit moved. She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace. I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear. After all, this is your final design. Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light. On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in eternity and asking me about the auction details. The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it. Mary immediately chimed in. Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future. I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting. Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, Mary. This is my wife, Mary. I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to Eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly, top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I studied jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, Talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The Pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall. But there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. Mr. George, thank you for coming. The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. Did you send the email? I asked directly. She nodded. There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me? We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, in memory, dedicated to teacher Mary. Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines, with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. "New friend?" he asked me quietly. "Mary's student," I explained simply. "Very talented." Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the three of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. "Mr. George," Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I've always had a question I wanted to ask you." "What is it?" "After you finished The Pursuit, what are you planning to create next?" The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since The Pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. "I haven't decided yet," I answered honestly. "It might take some time to find a new direction." Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. "Maybe," Nicole said softly, "you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further." I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. "You mean creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry?" "Exactly," Nicole said excitedly. "Your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect." The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, "I have to confess something." I looked at her in confusion. "I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you," she said candidly. "I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion." Her sincerity moved me. "You're already on that path, and you're doing very well." "Then, may I consult you often?" she asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, "See, I knew you would find a new direction." When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. "Am I really up to the task?" she asked me in the studio. "You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone," I assured her. "That's exactly what I need." In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it. At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's all right, I said with a smile. I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself. Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, Professor George, may I ask you a personal question? What is it? When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole. I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. George, you look much more spirited lately, Frank remarked at a gathering. It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life. Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating. Nicole's a good girl, Frank said meaningfully. Talented, and she really understands you. I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. I came to apologize to you in person. She stood at the studio door, her voice low, for everything I have done. I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. I know that an apology can't make up for the loss, she continued, but I want you to know that I truly regret it. How is your sister's illness? I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true. Yes, she nodded. My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes. Even though I may never be able to. I was silent for a moment, then said, in a way, your appearance actually helped me. What do you mean? It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward. I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare, she said at last. I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well. As she left, she handed me a small package. These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them. Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. You forgave her? Nicole was a bit surprised. Not exactly forgiveness. I said thoughtfully, it's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes. Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design. Perhaps, I said, everyone has the possibility of being reborn. On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for Rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but what? But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. "I think this is the best arrangement for both of us." Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. "Are you really going to just let her go like this?" "What do you mean?" I pretended not to understand. "Don't play dumb, man," Frank said bluntly. "You have feelings for her. That's obvious." "That's just professional rapport," I argued. "Is that so?" Frank looked at me meaningfully. "Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France?" I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. "I know what you're worried about." Frank lowered his voice. "You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you?" I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. "Mary has been gone for 3 years now." Frank gently patted my shoulder. "She would want you to be happy." After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. "Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months." Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. "This experience has meant so much to me." "I should be thanking you," I said sincerely. "Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed." We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. "My flight is the morning after tomorrow," Nicole finally said. I still have some things to take care of tomorrow. So, this is probably the last time we'll see each other. 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there. She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity. What is it? I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works. She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. I didn't know that, I said in surprise. I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion. Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you. I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. Nicole, please don't respond, she gently interrupted me. I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. "Mary, the exhibition was a great success today," I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. "Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted." Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. "Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me." A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, "I've been thinking about something." "What is it?" "If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met." Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. "Perhaps that's the irony of fate," I said softly. "Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings." When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. "Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path." "Luna," I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, "Her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent." "Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars," I sighed. "Everyone deserves a second chance." That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. "You mean?" "A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration," she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. "Love." I finished her sentence. "No matter what form it takes." Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. "We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration." "Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project." "We have time," she smiled, holding my hand. "We have so much time." In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. "This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future," I whispered softly. "Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life?" Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. "I will." Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said, "Love does not disappear. It merely changes its form." Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.